Okay, today I put together a new video to talk about, of all things, Adobe Target. And I decided to take like one piece of functionality and focus on that. And that is using Target to drive targeting activities based upon data that you're not necessarily collecting real time, either on your website or in your app. So offline data, sometimes we would call it. Before we get started, I also have here this penguin. Like, so my wife wants me to get rid of these, and they're from my grandmother, and I know they're hideous, but God, I love them. So I know I haven't created a video in a while, and I had the best intentions last year, and for a variety of reasons, there's lots of excuses, but none of them really good. I stopped. So I'm restarting up, and my intention is to keep this up at a better pace. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to make it up to you. Okay, we're gonna be using Target today to, like I said, target based upon data that's coming from some other system. First, let's talk about getting data available to Target. Not necessarily getting data into Target, although that will be part of the conversation. There's really two main methods. Method number one is using customer attributes. And if you look here, if you're logged into the Experience Cloud, you'll see that on the right-hand side here, this platform thing, this used to be called Core Services, and now it's called Platform. You'll see this people. So people platform thingy. I really don't know what the language is supposed to be. But if you go into there, if you click on the people, it really doesn't work. You will see two tabs here. Tab number one is Audience Library, and some of the other videos that I created last year had information as it relates to Audience Library. The other one's Customer Attributes. So this is going to be one of the methods for ingesting data and making it available for Target. I would use this, if you like having an interface where you can go up and set up the attributes, and you just simply have a flat file that you want to upload. This is the best interface for that. Also, if you want to use those same attributes and that same data for analysis in analytics, this is the interface for that. I've created a customer attribute called third-party ID example, because I guess I lack some creativity. So this is what's silly. Target calls this whole functionality third-party ID, and it's not because it's your third-party ID, because it's actually your first-party ID. But for Target, it's third-party. So that's why it's called third-party. We're looking at this interface here, and there's a few things to know about it. One is this alias ID. That's the column, right? That's the column. That is your first-party ID, what Target calls third-party. This chart here, we won't talk a lot about this. I'll make another video where we talk about syncing IDs, but fundamentally this is a chart that's going to show you, of all of the ECIDs out there, of this population of people that you have set an ECID for, this chart is going to show you how many of them you've been able to sync your alias ID, what you see right here, with that ECID. So like I said, we'll come back to that in a separate video. And then I've uploaded a file. I called it ca.csv. This is just a flat file. You can send it to an FTP site if you'd like. And then the cool thing about customer attributes is you can subscribe to it. So you can subscribe to it with Target. You can subscribe to it with analytics. In this case, I've only subscribed to the Target. And if you click into there, you'll see I've really only set up two attributes. So I've made this as simple as possible. Now, I said there were two methods. I'm going to go into Postman. If you think Postman if you don't know what it is, or you think postman's only the person who delivers the mail to your house, the mail that you just immediately throw away if you're like me, then I do a little bit of research on that. Fundamentally, this is a tool that allows you to set up get and post requests and really just kind of validate things, test it out, actually see how things are working. I like doing things this way because it really it makes it simpler. Like normally, in order to validate this stuff, I'd have to create an HTML page, I'd have to tag that HTML page, I'd have to host that HTML page somewhere, and something simple becomes pretty complex just because of all those kind of details. Postman kind of simplifies that because I can just put the requests in, see how things work, validate it, test it out, and then do all the other things to put it into production. First thing to take a look at is, so it's going to be called Adobe Target Profile Targeting, and just go into the edit here. Some variables here that you need to set. So client code is going to be your target client code. So as a customer or subscriber to Target, you have a client code. Profile ID is, well, now we've used a lot of different names for it. In customer attributes, it was called alias ID. Target calls it third-party ID. I'm just calling it profile ID here. It's your ID. It's like, you got it. Session ID, we don't really need to talk about it. It's required, but for the sake of this, don't worry about it. And then the mbox is just related to the activity. I'll show you that in a minute. If we go into this batch profile update using third-party ID, it's a little bit wonky. If you look at the actual documentation, you'll see that this is a post endpoint, and what's supposed to be happening here is you're supposed to be pointing to a file, a comma delimited file. Since I have this in Postman, I kind of want to make it something that you could easily share. I just put a comma delimited file into the value, and it's only 3 rows, so it's not a big deal. Obviously, that's not really what you would do, but for the sake of this demonstration, that's what we're going to use. And then to use this, you just hit send. So assuming you've updated your client code and you're using fake data that makes sense to you, you should see a message like this, that your batch has been submitted. Now, both methods for getting the data in, customer attributes or batch profile update, they're batch. Customer attributes has more latency to it than this does. But, both of them are going to be a bulk, maybe a bulk upload's a good way to look at it. So that's getting the data in. Let's just take a look at getting the data out. So if you look at the GET request called profile fetch by third-party ID, I'm sorry. Then, and assuming you've gone in and you've either edited the data or edited the variables so that they apply to you, you should be able to hit this and see data coming back for that profile. My 2 attributes were customer type and joined as. And in my mind, I was thinking the type of customer, we'll call it gold, platinum, whatever. And then they're either like maybe a free subscriber or a paid subscriber or something like that. Those 2 things don't go together very well, but just bear with me. You can do a request here if you go to the profile fetch by third-party ID, and you can get back the data. So as a part of that batch profile update request, I passed in that this visitor, 222A, was gold, and you'll see that attribute returns back in the data. An interesting little nuance here is that both customer attributes and the batch profile update are going to allow you to upload the same data, but the namespace for something like customer type are going to be different. So in that case, if you did both, say for instance, you'd potentially have conflicting data. I don't think that's a big deal, just something to be aware of. Like once you choose one path, you need to stick with it. You can't kind of vacillate between the 2. So we know that this person is gold. Let's go just get the activity. So what I've done, if we go back over here to target, what I've done is I've created an activity inside of target. I'm just calling it an experience targeting using third-party ID. At least I'm consistent. I've really made it very simple. So I have two audiences and experiences, and I've just done that because it's a lot simpler when you're working in Postman to just look at strings effectively, like data. So I've just made this a JSON offer. So I've set this up so that if you see a customer type that's gold, return gold in the JSON, and if you see somebody who's not gold, return not gold. So very simple. We've already looked to see what this customer is. This customer is gold. So we should, when we run this get activity by third-party ID, so the offer for a customer type of gold. Now, again, it's pretty simple, right? I've uploaded the data. In this case, what I've done in this example, I've uploaded that data in Postman. I've validated that this person is gold, and I get back the activity from target that's gold. Piece of cake. Same thing would happen if I had used customer attributes and created my audience using that attribute of customer type, and then set up my activity to look at that. Would have been exactly the same behavior. The nice thing, however, with using the batch profile update, the actual API way of doing it, that the nice thing about that is, let's say I've discovered something about this person in real time and I want to change it. So maybe in this case, I'm gold, but I've now done something. I've now qualified for the next level of platinum. You can actually have, and there's a request in here, a get request in here called update profile. You can actually pass in that new data. So I'm going to make this person platinum. And I'm going to send that in. So it received that request. Now if I look at the data, I should see platinum. Yep. So target is definitely saying I've updated this person to platinum. Now when I get this activity, I should get an activity for somebody who's not gold. Okay, so there we go, an empty content. I think this is immensely valuable, and it can be used for offline data like we've been talking about, and things like customer level or lifetime value. Could also be used for scores, like if you had propensity scores for your customers and you wanted them available for target to do targeting, you could use this. So anyways, this is a short little snippet video. Yeah, I'm going to create more of these. So please subscribe, please like, please be patient with me. Thank you. And please like the penguin.